Marcus had been sketching wedding dresses in his notebooks since he was 14 years old. Not because he dreamed of getting married himself, but because he found something magical in the way fabric could transform a person's most important day. When my sister Rebecca announced her engagement to her fiancé David at that celebratory dinner last spring, I watched Marcus's eyes light up as she described her vision for the perfect dress. Vintage-inspired but modern. Elegant but not stuffy. Romantic without being overly feminine. "I could make that for you," Marcus said quietly, almost shyly, during a lull in the conversation. The entire table went silent. Rebecca looked at him with surprise, then glanced at me as if asking permission to take him seriously. I nodded. She had no idea just how talented my son really was. "Are you sure?" Rebecca asked. "A wedding dress is a huge undertaking." Marcus nodded with the kind of confidence that only comes from knowing your own abilities. "I've been designing clothes for 3 years now. I've made prom dresses, suits, even a quinceanera gown for my friend Sophia. I can do this, but you need to know it'll take time and you'll have to be patient with the process. We'll need to work together closely." Rebecca's face broke into a huge smile. She stood up and hugged him tightly. "Oh my God, Marcus, that would be amazing. Having something handmade by family would make it so much more special." My mother raised her glass. "To Marcus, the family designer." Everyone toasted, and Marcus blushed the way he always did when he received praise. He wasn't the kind of kid who sought attention. He was quiet, introspective, more comfortable with a sketch pad than at a party, but put fabric in his hands, and he became someone else entirely. Focused, determined, brilliant. That night, after we got home, Marcus stayed up until 2 in the morning sketching initial concepts. I found him asleep at his desk the next morning, pencil still in hand, surrounded by drawings of flowing trains and delicate necklines. I covered him with a blanket and let him sleep an extra hour before school. The first official design session happened 2 weeks later at our house. Rebecca came over with a Pinterest board on her tablet containing hundreds of images. Marcus sat beside her on the couch, his own sketchbook open, asking questions that surprised both of us with their sophistication. "What kind of movement do you want? Do you want to feel the fabric as you walk? Or do you want it to feel like you're floating? When you picture yourself at the altar, are you thinking about how you look or how you feel? Because those are two different design approaches." Rebecca blinked. "I've never thought about it that way." "Most people don't," Marcus said simply. "But it matters. A dress isn't just something you wear. It's something you experience." Over the next month, Marcus created 53 different sketches. I know because I counted them. Each one was slightly different, exploring variations in sleeve length, neckline depth, train style, and embellishment placement. Rebecca would come over every few days, and they'd spread the drawings across our dining room table, discussing the merits of each design. "This one feels too formal," Rebecca would say. "This one doesn't feel bridal enough," she'd critique another. Marcus never got frustrated. He'd just nod, make notes, and incorporate her feedback into the next round of designs. I watched this process with a mixture of pride and concern. My son was pouring so much of himself into this project, and I worried about what would happen if Rebecca didn't appreciate the final result. Finally, on sketch number 47, Rebecca gasped. "That's it, that's the one." Marcus had designed something truly special. It featured a fitted bodice with a sweetheart neckline, delicate illusion lace sleeves that would make her arms look elegant without covering too much skin, intricate beading that would catch the light without being gaudy, and a cathedral-length train that managed to look both dramatic and effortless. It was exactly what Rebecca had described that first night, even though she probably couldn't have articulated it so clearly herself. "Can you really make this?" Rebecca asked, her voice filled with wonder. "Yes," Marcus said, "but I'll need about 5 months, and I'll need you to be available for multiple fittings. The fit has to be absolutely perfect. Whatever you need," Rebecca promised. That's when I stepped in. "I want to pay for the fabric," I told them both. "This is my contribution to your wedding, Rebecca. Let me do this." Rebecca hugged me, tears in her eyes. "You guys are the best." Marcus and I spent an entire Saturday at a specialty fabric store 3 hours away, the only place within reasonable distance that carried the quality of materials he needed. He touched every bolt of fabric, held swatches up to the light, draped samples over his arm to see how they moved. The store owner, an elderly woman named Mrs. Chun who'd been in the business for 40 years, watched him with obvious approval. "You have good instincts," she told him. "Most people just grab what looks pretty. You're thinking about structure and movement." Marcus selected a silk mikado for the bodice, French lace for the sleeves, and the most beautiful tulle I'd ever seen for the skirt and train. The beads and crystals for the embellishments came from a different supplier, ordered specially through Mrs. Chun. The total cost made me wince, but I handed over my credit card without hesitation. This was for my son's first major commission and for my sister's wedding. It was worth it. The actual construction began in early November. Marcus transformed his bedroom into a workshop. He'd saved money from his part-time job at the library to buy a professional gray dress for him in Rebecca's exact measurements. It stood in the corner of his room like a silent partner, draped in muslin as he worked out the pattern. I'd hear him in there late at night, the gentle whir of his sewing machine a constant soundtrack to our evenings. Sometimes I bring him tea and find him bent over the bodice, hand-sewing individual beads with a focus that was almost meditative. Other times he'd be ripping out seams that didn't meet his standards, even though they looked perfect to my untrained eye. It's not right, he'd explain. The tension is off by a millimeter. She'll feel it when she moves. His dedication was absolute. His grades didn't suffer because he'd always been disciplined about homework, but his social life essentially disappeared. His friends understood. Mostly, they'd seen his work before. His best friend Tyler would come over sometimes and do homework in Marcus's room while Marcus sewed, just to keep him company. "You're insane," Tyler told him one night when I brought them both snacks. "You know that, right? This is like 1,000 hours of work." 1,147 so far, Marcus replied without looking up from the sleeve he was attaching. But who's counting? The first major fitting happened in January. Rebecca came over, and Marcus had her try on the partially completed dress. Just the bodice and the basic skirt. No beading yet, no train. But already it was stunning. The fit was perfect. The lines were clean. The structure made Rebecca's figure look amazing. "Oh my God," Rebecca breathed, staring at herself in the full-length mirror Marcus had installed in his room. "Marcus, this is incredible." But then she frowned. "Can we make the neckline a little higher? And maybe add more structure to the waist?" And I'm thinking the sleeves should be shorter, just to the elbow instead of the wrist. I saw Marcus's jaw tighten slightly, but he just nodded and made notes. "I can do that. It'll take about 2 weeks to make those modifications." This became the pattern. Rebecca would come for a fitting, love what she saw, then immediately start suggesting changes. Some are minor. Some required Marcus to undo weeks of work. He never complained, at least not to Rebecca. But sometimes late at night, I'd hear him in his room, and I knew he was frustrated. "She doesn't trust her own vision," he told me one evening when I asked if he was okay. "She sees something beautiful, but then she second-guesses herself. It's making the process harder than it needs to be." "Do you want to stop?" I asked. He looked at me like I'd suggested he cut off his own hand. "No, I'm going to finish this. It's going to be perfect." And it was. By late March, the dress was complete. Every bead was hand-sewn. Every seam was invisible. The train flowed like water when Rebecca walked. The lace sleeves, now elbow-length after the modifications, made her arms look graceful and elegant. The bodice fit like it had been painted on. The skirt had just enough volume to be dramatic without being overwhelming. When Rebecca tried it on for the final fitting, my mother was there. She took one look at Rebecca in that dress and burst into tears. "You look like a princess," she sobbed. "A real princess." Rebecca was crying too, carefully trying not to mess up her makeup. "Marcus, I don't even know what to say. This is beyond anything I imagined. Thank you doesn't seem like enough." Marcus smiled, and I saw the exhaustion and pride mixed together in his expression. "You're welcome. I'm just glad you love it. I'm going to be the most beautiful bride anyone's ever seen," Rebecca said, turning to admire herself from every angle. "You're going to be beautiful because you're happy," Marcus corrected gently. "The dress just helps." That moment should have been the happy ending to this story. It wasn't. 2 weeks later, Marcus came to me with confusion written all over his face. It was a Tuesday evening. He'd just gotten home from his shift at the library. "Mom, did my invitation to Aunt Rebecca's wedding get lost in the mail or something?" My stomach dropped. "What do you mean? Tyler's parents got theirs last week. Grandma got hers 3 weeks ago, but I haven't gotten one. The wedding's in 6 weeks. Shouldn't I have gotten mine by now?" I'd been so busy with work and managing the household that I hadn't even thought about it. But he was right. The wedding was on May 15th. It was now early April. Invitations had definitely gone out. "Let me text Rebecca," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. I went to my room and pulled out my phone. My hand was shaking slightly as I typed the message. "Hey, Marcus is wondering about his invitation to the wedding. Just want to make sure it didn't get lost in the mail." The 3 dots appeared immediately, showing she was typing. Then they disappeared. Then they appeared again. Finally, a message came through. "Can we talk on the phone?" My heart sank. That was never a good sign. I called her. She answered on the first ring. "So, about that," Rebecca started, her voice tight. "David and I decided we want a child-free wedding." I was silent for a moment, processing. Child-free. Yeah, we're having an open bar, and we want people to be able to relax and have fun without worrying about kids running around. We're not inviting anyone under 18. Rebecca, Marcus is 17. He's not a child, and he made your dress. I know, and I'm so grateful for that. But we have to be consistent with our rules. If we make an exception for one person, everyone will want exceptions. Who else in the family is under 18? I asked, though I already knew the answer. Silence on the other end. Rebecca, Marcus is the only person under 18 in our entire extended family. This rule excludes exactly one person. The person who spent 5 months making your dress. It's not personal, she said defensively. It's just our policy. How is it not personal? You asked him to make your dress. He worked on it for months. He gave up his free time, his social life. He put his heart into this. And now you're telling me he can't even see you wear it. I'm sorry, but this is my wedding, and I get to make the rules. I'm sure Marcus will understand. No, I said, my voice harder than I intended. He won't understand, because there's nothing to understand. You're excluding him deliberately. That's not fair. What's not fair is asking a kid to make your wedding dress and then not inviting him to the wedding. What's not fair is calling something a rule when it's designed to exclude exactly one person. What's not fair is expecting him to be okay with this. Look, I don't want to fight about this. The decision is made. I'm sorry if that upsets you, but it's final. I took a deep breath. Then you need to find a different dress. What? You heard me. If Marcus isn't invited to the wedding, you're not wearing the dress he made. You can't be serious. The wedding is in 6 weeks. Where am I supposed to find a dress? That's not my problem. You made your choice. I'm making mine. Mom will kill you for this, Rebecca said, her voice rising. Then she can kill me. But Marcus isn't going to sit at home while you wear the dress he made for you. That's not happening. I hung up before she could respond. My hands were shaking. I never stood up to my sister like that before. We'd had disagreements, sure, but nothing like this. I found Marcus in his room, doing homework. He looked up when I came in, and I saw hope in his eyes. Did she say when I'll get my invitation? I sat down on his bed. Marcus, honey, I need to tell you something. The hope died in his eyes as I explained. I watched my 17-year-old son, this talented, sensitive, kind young man, try to process what I was saying. He didn't cry at first. He just stared at me. But I made her dress, he said finally, his voice small. I know. I worked so hard. I know you did. What did I do wrong? That's when he started crying. Not loud, dramatic sobs, but quiet tears that rolled down his cheeks as he sat there, trying to understand why he wasn't good enough to be included. I held him while he cried, and I felt my own anger growing. My phone started ringing almost immediately. My mother. I ignored it. It rang again. I ignored it again. Then came the text messages. Rebecca is hysterical. What did you say to her? Call me immediately. You're being completely unreasonable. I turned my phone off. The next morning, I turned it back on to find 17 missed calls and 32 text messages. Most were from my mother, but some were from other family members who'd apparently been brought into the drama. I read through them all, my coffee getting cold beside me. The messages fell into 2 camps. Half the family was on my side, saying Rebecca should have made an exception for Marcus. The other half was saying I was ruining her wedding over something petty, that it was her day and her rules, that I was being vindictive. My brother James sent a particularly thoughtful message. I get why you're upset, but is this really the hill you want to die on? She's your sister. It's her wedding. Can't you just let this go? I responded to him directly. If Marcus had refused to make the dress, everyone would have called him selfish. But he spent 5 months making it, and now he's not good enough to attend? No, I'm not letting this go. Rebecca called me that afternoon. I almost didn't answer, but I figured we needed to talk eventually. I've been thinking, she started, her voice strained. What if Marcus comes to the ceremony, but not the reception? That way he can see me wear the dress, but we still maintain our child-free reception. No, why not? That's a reasonable compromise. Because it's not about seeing you in the dress, Rebecca. It's about being included. It's about being valued. You're basically saying he's good enough to do work for you, but not good enough to celebrate with you. That's not a compromise. That's an insult. I don't know what else to offer. Invite him to the whole wedding. That's what you offer. I can't do that. Then you can't have a dress. She was quiet for a long moment. What if I pay you for it? The materials at least. We calculated the actual value of the dress. Materials plus labor at a fair rate. It comes to $8,200. I heard her gasp. $8,200? That's insane. That's what it's worth. Marcus worked over 1,100 hours on that dress. Even at minimum wage, that's more than $8,000, and his skill level is way beyond minimum wage. The materials alone were $2,200. So actually, we're giving you a discount. I can't afford that. It should be a gift. We're family. That's interesting, I said coldly. Because family helps each other, right? Family supports each other. Family includes each other in important moments. Except apparently not when it comes to Marcus. This is blackmail. No, this is business. You want the dress, you pay for it. Or you invite Marcus to the wedding, and you get it as the gift it was always meant to be. Your choice. She hung up on me. My mother came over that evening, unannounced. She let herself in with the key I'd given her for emergencies, which this apparently qualified as in her mind. We need to talk, she said, her face set in that expression that meant she was about to lecture me. I'm listening. You're ruining your sister's wedding. No, Rebecca ruined her own wedding when she decided to exclude Marcus. He's a child. He'll get over it. He's 17, and he won't get over it. Would you have gotten over it at 17? Would I have? My mother sat down heavily on the couch. Why are you making this so difficult? Just give her the dress and let it go. Because Marcus needs to know that I have his back. He needs to know that his work has value. He needs to know that he matters. If I just hand over the dress and tell him to suck it up, what does that teach him? That he should let people use him? That his feelings don't matter? That he should just accept being treated poorly because family? You're teaching him to hold grudges. I'm teaching him to have self-respect. My mother left angry. She didn't speak to me for 2 weeks. But other family members started reaching out privately. My cousin Jennifer called and said she wasn't going to the wedding. What Rebecca's doing is wrong, she said simply. I'm not supporting it. My uncle Paul sent a long email about how proud he was of Marcus and how disappointed he was in Rebecca. I raised my kids to understand that actions have consequences. Rebecca is learning that now. My brother James eventually came around too. I talked to Marcus yesterday. He told me. He showed me pictures of the dress. Sis, that kid is incredibly talented, and he's really hurt. You're right. This isn't okay. As word spread through the family about what was happening, a divide formed. About half the family sided with me and Marcus. The other half thought I was being unreasonable. Family group chats became war zones. My mother tried to organize a family meeting to resolve this situation, but I declined to attend. There's nothing to resolve, I told her. Rebecca made her choice. I made mine. We're done discussing it. Rebecca tried a few more times to negotiate. She offered to mention Marcus in a speech at the reception. She offered to pay $2,000 for the dress. She offered to take him to a fancy dinner after the wedding. Each offer missed the point so completely that I didn't even bother responding after a while. The wedding was now 3 weeks away. Rebecca was apparently frantically shopping for a new dress. According to my mother, she tried on dozens and hated them all. Nothing fit right. Nothing looked as good. Nothing felt special. Of course, nothing feels special, I told my mother when she called to guilt trip me about this. Because she's not wearing something made with love by family. She's wearing something she bought off a rack because she decided her rules were more important than her relationships. You could still fix this, my mother said. So could Rebecca. Marcus, meanwhile, was dealing with his own feelings. He'd gone quiet, spending more time in his room. His friend Tyler came over one afternoon, and I heard them talking. You should post pictures of a dress online, Tyler was saying. Show everyone what she's missing. I can't do that, Marcus replied. It was made for her. Even if she's not going to wear it, it still feels wrong to show it off. That's my son. Even hurt and angry, he had integrity. 2 weeks before the wedding, I got a call from a woman named Catherine Liu. She explained that she was a friend of Mrs. Chun from the fabric store, and Mrs. Chun had told her about Marcus and the wedding dress situation. I know this is unusual, Catherine said, but my daughter is getting married in 3 months, and we've been struggling to find a dress that works for her body type. Mrs. Chun showed me pictures of your son's work. Would he be willing to sell the dress he made? We'd pay full price, and if it needs alterations, we'd pay for his time on that too. I told her I'd talk to Marcus. That evening, I explained the situation to him. He was quiet for a long time. It wouldn't be weird, he asked finally, selling Aunt Rebecca's dress to someone else? It's not Aunt Rebecca's dress anymore, I said gently. She made her choice. This is your dress. You made it. You get to decide what happens to it. What if she changes her mind? Do you think she will? He shook his head slowly. No, she's too stubborn. So what do you want to do? He thought about it for a few more minutes. I want to meet the daughter first. I want to make sure it's going to someone who'll appreciate it. Catherine and her daughter Emma came over that Saturday. Emma was 24, a graduate student in biology, getting married to her girlfriend in a small ceremony. She was curvy where Rebecca was slim, but Marcus had designed the dress with enough structure that he thought he could alter it to fit her. Emma gasped when she saw the dress. Oh my God, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Marcus had her try it on. It needed significant alterations to the bodice and waist, but the overall effect was stunning. Emma started crying when she saw herself in the mirror. I never thought I'd find a dress that made me feel beautiful, she said. I've tried on so many, and they all make me feel like I'm trying to fit into someone else's idea of what a bride should look like. But this feels like me. Marcus smiled, a real smile, the first one I'd seen in weeks. I can make it fit you perfectly. It'll take about 3 weeks. Catherine pulled out her checkbook. How much? $8,000 for the dress as is, I said, plus Marcus's hourly rate for the alterations. He charges $30 an hour. Catherine didn't even blink. She wrote the check right there. After they left, Marcus looked at me with something like wonder. She really loved it. She did, because you're incredibly talented and you made something beautiful. I wish Aunt Rebecca could have felt that way about it. I know, honey. I wish that too. The week of the wedding arrived. The family divide was now complete. My brother James called to tell me he wasn't going. Neither was my cousin Jennifer, my uncle Paul, or about 10 other family members. They were all planning to get together at Jennifer's house instead. You guys should come, James said. We'll have a party. Celebrate family the right way. Let me think about it, I said. I talked to Marcus about it that night. Some family members are skipping the wedding and having a party instead. They want us to come. What do you think? He considered it. Will it make Aunt Rebecca more upset? Probably. Good, he said, and there was a hint of satisfaction in his voice that made me both sad and proud. The day of the wedding, Marcus and I got dressed up and went to Jennifer's house. About 15 family members were there, including my brother, my uncle, and several cousins. We had a barbecue in Jennifer's backyard. That's the real gift I gave him. Not fabric or beads or a sewing machine, but the knowledge that he matters, that his work matters, that he deserves respect. Emma still sends Marcus photos occasionally of her wearing the dress to special events or just because she loves it so much. Each time Marcus smiles, not the sad smile of what could have been, but the proud smile of someone who knows his work is appreciated by the right person. And really, that's the best ending this story could have had. Not the one we expected, but the one we needed. The dress found someone who truly valued it. Marcus learned to value himself. And I learned that sometimes the most loving thing you can do for your child is to fight for them, even when it costs you. If you enjoyed this story, like and subscribe for more.